had the song Secret Agent going through my head all day.
Cheryl, did you want to sit back by Ivy? You're filming.
No, I'll be good. The closer I am, the better you can hear. So.
Yeah. It was an interesting day, to say the very least.
I'm sure I will.
How much were they?
All right, we are going to go ahead and get started. If I'm nothing, I am punctual typically, so, okay. We've got quite a stack there that we will work our way through as we go along, but our opening activity, we haven't done this for about a year. I thought it was a really good one when we did do it, and that's the good old tell me something good. And I think we're gonna start with somebody other than the Dan this time, so how about you?
Well, it's been a beautiful summer weather-wise, homecoming week, cold Diet Coke.
Except this time the tagline, it doesn't get any better than this with men, right?
Well, you wait till it's your own turn and pick your own slogan.
Well, I was going off of Highway 52 between Pheasant and Harvey, and there were no speed restrictions for a while, but they're back on again. But there's no flaggers and there's no pilot cars.
That's because they're all on our county pavement now.
I know, so, but there's none on 52 between Pheasant and Harvey, so.
Nope, you're right. They'll be back
To
next
me,
week.
they'll be back, but right now, they're not there, and that's a good
Next
thing.
week?
What have they got left to finish?
They've
What's
got-
that?
What's
they've
left
got
to finish?
They
dirt
got
work and
shoulder work.
And they got stripes, they gotta put the
There's
markings
not a
up and
lot
everything.
there, but there is shoulder work between Pheasant and Harvey.
A lot of bad drivers out there. You don't get lines out there.
Well,
They'll
that's
be
me.
all-
And that doesn't help
Oh,
either.
yeah. That doesn't help either, you're right.
You mean I'm on the wrong side of the road?
But the right side of the law. No, I'm kidding.
I'm kidding.
I switched offices today. I had a shared office and now I have my own little cozy private office, so that's kind of cool.
Yay. My 13th grandchild and my 11th granddaughter is slated to arrive in December. Lucky 13. Wow.
And 11.
Yeah, Ford and Foster. They're just gonna have to put up with all those girls.
Yeah.
Well, this week's homecoming, so it's been fun helping the kids get dressed up for homecoming and using mom's makeup to, make crazy Wednesday. So that's kind of been a good thing.
Where do I start? Pittsburgh Steelers are 2-0. The Packers have already lost.
But the Vikes are 2-0.
We're not talking about something bad, we're talking about something good. Okay, I survived Friday the 13th last week, I'm still here. That's not a good day for anybody, and I don't like it any more than anybody else. And, I also will have another grandson I found out in early December, so that would only be number 2 for me.
Congratulations.
So, other than that, nothing else.
You sure it's not a girl?
No, yeah. According to the ultrasound, no. They're not picking any girls' names anyway.
Well, I struggled to find something good to say, except for I was really happy that football's back, but I'm really tired of Brett Keller's smart remarks about the Vikings.
There was one other thing too. The Harvey
No, you're done.
The Harvey Wells County Hornets beat Carrington, and if they only get one win this year, they won the right.
That is a good one. I really.
My thoughts too.
All I can think of is, 36 years ago, right now, I'd be having a C-section, so thank God it's not today. That's all I got.
That is a good one. I don't think any of us would need to see that.
Yeah. Don't picture it, don't picture it. That's all I got.
I
I helped Carissa think of something good, but I don't know, every day's a good day. So, I'll just pass that on.
Well, after a house full of girls, we finally added a son-in-law, so we had a wedding this summer, so now my husband's happy to have another guy in the family.
My son was home for a week, him and his wife. That was nice.
Good thing
It's nice to see you guys every day, Monday through Friday. I love it.
She's always jolly. She always is.
I guess it's my turn. Well, I could add to the homecoming things, but that's not a good thing because that's another senior thing down the passing through, so that's not a good thing there. But it is good to come here and everybody seems to be, you know, on your side and you can talk to, and it's good to work with a group of people. But yeah, and construction has not been, that's been a good thing.
I think a new season of Grey's Anatomy starts today. And I get to see some Fargo friends later this week. Well, Carissa always complained about having a house full of girls. I had a house full of boys growing up, and I too added to my family just a couple weekends ago quite rapidly. I have a daughter-in-law, so I'm very pleased about that.
I will rear it. I've had my daughter-in-law for 2 years, but I love her to death, and she's the joy along with Jacob and my family, so I'm thankful for them.
All right. And I'll close this off. You guys don't wanna hear this,
He's shy, isn't
but maybe I'm just really, really, really lucky. But, I had a wonderful career in education and I really do enjoy my job at the county. I really do. I like coming to work every day. I like working with you. I like the tasks that I have. It's a meaningful part of my life, so.
Wonderful.
Except for who you gotta work with.
Well, yeah, I didn't wanna get into that.
Yeah, I just thought I'd bring that up.
You know, you can't have everything. All right, well, thank you very much for sharing, always fun. All right, 2025, got a couple of 3 different things in there, from the budget to commissioners' meeting schedule to timesheets and payroll calendar. Wanted to share this stuff simply because, you know, it becomes easier, I guess, if you are knowledgeable or insightful about certain things and so on, and I'm not gonna get way into the weeds with you on this budget. But one of the things I am 100% certain of, and it doesn't matter if it's here or one of the cities or the ambulance districts, fire districts, school districts, you name it, there's all kinds of clamoring of people who have their own ideas about things that just simply do not understand this material. And it may or may not be for everyone, but I decided that, you know what, I'm gonna put this in your hands. You become a part of it. Obviously, you are employed by the county. You're a taxpayer in this county. You are an adult. You're a voter in this county. You need to have some knowledge, some insight, and certainly you need to take some ownership of this, because there's far too many people who have no concept of this, who don't mind grabbing the microphone and pontificating long and hard about things that they have no insight or knowledge of. So, I'm not going to ask you if you've got a whole bunch of questions, but there are things here that I think will help you to understand certain things. And I'm gonna just touch on a few of them, and then if you do have questions, you may certainly ask. About the 3rd page in, and they do have numbers on them, it's BR1, shows you tax revenue, general and special revenue funds in Wells County. Gives you a mill rate based upon our taxable valuation, which is listed at the top. And obviously, there's 5 of those that show max in the far right-hand column, which means that you can't ask for any more than that based upon the valuation at this particular point in time. I've also, I guess it isn't on here, I could tell you what the maxes are in the other areas, but essentially, One of the things that I can tell you in Wells County is that we tax at 76% of what we could tax at, or that's what's being planned for 2025. We're lower than that right now, but we do have to raise it. And the number one area, 45% of the new dollars that we're after go into what's called the Capital Projects Fund. And the purpose of that is to give Wells County the capacity to be able to match federal and state grant monies, particularly for infrastructure, bridges, roads, etc. And all of my 38 or 39 months here, whatever it is, we've taken that money out of the general fund. Well, the general fund no longer has the capacity to be able to subsidize other areas of the county. In addition to that, we've added a new line in here, BSO. It's really a small area. You can see there it's a fraction of one particular mill, but it's on there nevertheless. Trying to find the darn thing. There it is.
Yes.
0.29 of a mill, $14,000. But that too was paid for out of the general fund. And again, even though it's only $14,000, the general fund just does not have the capacity to pay for everything else in addition to what its intended purposes are. So that page will give you some insight onto how exactly this works in the budget. That information is reiterated on the next page. It's just a budget revenue summary. And then page BR3 is interesting in that it breaks down different parts of the budget. And this is a little bit unfair because there's a category in here that's rather large here, and it's called miscellaneous. It shows up as the biggest portion of the budget. That is everything that doesn't have a perfect description for it in the county, and that includes, but is not limited to, health insurance, dental insurance, PERS. It's a catch-all that is for every department in the county. So if you took out that 28.5% that is quote-unquote miscellaneous, that would be distributed amongst every other department within the county. It's everything from that supply room to, you name it, fuel for the building, electricity, so utilities fall into that, etc. All right, so it tells you what those different pieces are and so on and so forth. And about a year, give or take, maybe not quite a year ago, this seems to be becoming more and more of an issue. So I took basically the information that's on that prior page that we've already looked at, where our tax dollars are coming from, and I put those on a card and I laminated it and instructed the commissioners to carry that in their pocket so that when they get approached by any particular patron in any particular venue that complains about their taxes or complains about what's being spent on this or that or these or those, that they could take that card out and say, all right, tell me what you want to get rid of. And I have yet to find anybody that wants to see services cut. I'm not. We met with all 36 townships this summer, and invariably, every single one of them said, if you have to, you have to. We do not want reduced services. Now, that's representatives of 36 townships, and Brent was at those. I don't know. We would have easily met with a couple hundred people over the course of those 9 meetings.
I think there was only one township that wasn't represented.
Yep, and so as a result of that, you stop and think about, it's only a couple hundred people. Well, there's only 3,800 people in Wells County, so it is a substantial number. And a lot of those people that live in Wells County are not voters, they're children, whatever the case. So, okay, so this is not, it's a significant group of people that we met with there. I will tell you, some of my frustrations with the lack of understanding, the misinformation, the disinformation. I reached out to Harvey Public Schools, the city of Harvey Parks, District 14 legislators, I should say. Obviously Wells County is a piece of this, and I'm missing one. What am I missing? Harvey Public Schools, city of Harvey Parks, Harvey Ambulance. And we're gonna hold a public forum on Wednesday, October 2nd at the Harvey Eagles Club. If we get the kind of reception that I would like to think that we'll get, we'll take that thing on the road, and maybe we'll come to Pheasant, maybe we'll go to Sykeston, whatever whatever occurs after that, obviously, if we went to Sykeston, that wouldn't include the city of Harvey and Harvey Public Schools and Harvey Parks, but it would include political subdivisions in that part of the county. But I've just had it with people spewing nonsense, and it's time to start talking about reality. And that's why I'm giving you this document and hoping that, not that you will study it, but that you will become more educated, I guess, in something other than just the department that you represent. So, umpteen pages after this are everything from the revenues that are collected in a particular part to the expenditures that we will have. What this doesn't have, this is all information that comes from the sheet that you were presented much earlier in the summer, then you turn around and send back to me. You don't see the tax director's department, you don't see the treasurer's, but that's where these numbers come, is from those particular sheets. So if you go through them, obviously that is our entire budget as a whole. And for the longest time, and I've had this conversation in my prior life and as a school official and so on, people see a number in a budget and just assume that, okay, we've got the money, that I can spend that, okay? And technically you're not wrong, but we live in an era where there's a difference between want and need. So you need to be very judicious about how you go about spending your money. And I'm gonna pick on Jana here. She spends money on a program called Vanguard, or a company called Vanguard, who will come in and assess, like the Pheasant Co-op's new station at Hamburg. We don't have the capacity to determine the assessment of that. That's what this company specializes in. So whether it's them or the Arthur companies in Harvey, or Weckerly Grain in Hertzfield or whatever, that's what they do. Okay, so she's got a line item in her budget for that. If they're not coming, or they can't come, or whatever, she's not gonna spend the money, right? Okay, well, my point is, just because it's on the line doesn't mean that you have to spend it. I used to have employees at the school that say, well, it's in my budget. Well, your budget is really my budget. Okay, still would be a good thing to, for there to be knowledge and insight. No, I don't wanna know every time you buy stickers, okay? That's not necessary, but if you're making a major expenditure, we should have that conversation, because sometimes, despite the fact that it's in your budget, the revenue may not necessarily be there to support that, okay? And in November, obviously the folks in North Dakota are gonna take a vote. And if that vote is an affirmative, Wells County, Harvey Public Schools, Pheasant and Bowden School, every political subdivision, not just in Wells County, but the other 52 counties in North Dakota are in trouble. Maybe not on January 1st, but in subsequent years down the road. This is not a sustainable feature moving forward, and you need to be prepared for that. That's why this matters. This matters to you, it matters to all 700,000+ people who live in this state, man, woman, child, male, female, young, old, anywhere in between. Doesn't make any difference, this matters. Okay? Do you have any questions? And it doesn't have to be budget, it could be how it's organized, whatever. This is a expletive ton of work, okay? The budget itself isn't worth the paper that it's written on, it's how you manage the budget in the 12 months that are 2025. Any questions? Organized, maybe it could be about department, could be about a number in here, up to you.
I just appreciate you doing this, Dan, so that we actually see where it all goes and how it all goes and how it works. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, I appreciate that too.
All right.
What's the new one for 14th? What's VSO stand for?
Veteran Service Officer.
Okay. I just was wondering.
And we don't have a lot of veterans in Wells County, but the ones that we have need to have assistance sometimes in accessing veterans benefits and getting to and from veteran services and so on, and that's what that person is for.
Operating heartbeat?
Yes, but she goes all over the county, you know, she goes wherever.
So you're telling me that's gonna be a different fund?
What's that?
Is that gonna be a different fund, because the veteran service officer comes out of her general?
It doesn't, that part doesn't matter, we're talking about a collection for a department, and that's,
Okay.
you know,
So it's gonna still be part of the general,
It
okay,
can-
general fund tax levies, okay. Good. I didn't know if I needed a different line, I didn't know, I was like, what? Okay, got it. Got it.
But it's kind of nice to see where all of it goes, it's not just one little pot that you keep throwing in, it all goes someplace. Everybody gets.
How close is the technology fund?
Technology.
speaking of pot mache, no, I'm just kidding. That's another measure.
Where were you
of
going with that?
That's for economic development, that will likely save us all.
Well, I do like gardening.
It's on the map, it's on.
She shares her secrets with me.
Keep talking, Renee.
Yeah.
My room's got better ones.
Jack always thought, that's what
No.
we were growing.
It was
born.
So
Okay, if
excuse
there-
me,
Yes,
may I have that packet over there so I could see what everybody is looking at?
I think there was one sitting in
There
front of
was
you.
sitting over
Okay.
Yeah, I don't,
Pass that over.
okay.
No, it's really good, I think it's done well, really good job, yeah.
But again, it's just on paper, you gotta manage the darn thing for the 12 months that is 2025, and that sometimes becomes a challenge. So, I guess that's my reminder to you to be very thoughtful about how you utilize any resources that you do have access to, so. All right, the other two items in there, again, commission meeting calendar is in there in the event that, that's just something that you really, really, truly wanna know, and again, they don't even have this yet, they will get this at their October meeting. And if you flip that over on the backside, that just obviously makes clear when payday is, not that that's real hard to gauge, but, it's the last business day of the month. The interesting part of this was, what was the holiday we were talking about, Carla? Was it New Year's Eve? Yeah, you and I spoke about, you pulled me aside and asked me if our payday was on a business day.
Oh, that was me.
Oh, it was you? Okay. I thought it was,
the other Carla.
I thought for sure it was you.
I know my memory's bad, but I don't remember that conversation. You said he just went with it.
Your memory is bad, this was yesterday.
My memory is that bad.
Yeah, December 31st is always good.
No, it was
Well,
just it was something else.
You know, a lot of people would look at that as New Year's Eve as a holiday, but it isn't. It is a business day and so on. I can't remember exactly what the scenario was, but, so this is good to have. And, there are certain things in here, had a little snafu getting some time cards. Running the payroll, don't need you to feel my pain or anything like that. I'm not telling you this for that purpose, but it's more than a click or two of a mouse. Okay, it's a several hour process. And so when I want a time card at 7:30 AM, I don't want it at 11:30 AM.
You know, actually, it's a
Okay.
couple day process, because you got social services
Yeah,
before
and
that.
you've got
and
other
stuff.
things that are
Yeah,
coming before
it's-
that,
it doesn't
absolutely.
just-
But the actual running of the
Yeah.
payroll is not a simplistic thing. It's a very complex and arduous process. So there you go. You've got the deadlines and you've got all the information that you need to have for an entire year in advance. Okay? All right, next item here, item 3 is cybersecurity and building security. And I'm going to turn it to Carrie first, and then we'll talk about a little project that's soon to be on your radar.
Tammy and I went to a cybersecurity, they called it the NDIT Traveling Roadshow. And it was all about ransomware and cyber attacks and phishing emails, and it was an excellent presentation. Her and I are going to work
and to see if we can get it brought into the county and into the community, actually, like for the schools and stuff. It was very informative. They were the ones that suggested we get a checklist set together for all employees on what you need to know. And of course, we do the know before that if you feel that you have a phishing email, is to send it to that fish alert. That little button you have on your computers to make sure. I don't know if EDU, do you guys have that?
Yeah.
Okay, because I know they were doing ND.gov, but I didn't know if it worked with the EDUs. But anyway, so that's the first thing we want you to do. The second thing, if you get a message on your computer that something's blinking that you have ransomware, you have anything, number one, call NRG. Make them aware of the issue and do not shut off your computer. The reason you don't shut off your computer, because when you restart your computer, you shut it down, all memory is lost. And they want that memory there that if they can do investigations, they have it. So do not shut it off. Call NRG. Make sure Tammy or I know, so that we can get other employees knowing what's going on in case emails are sent out or something. That's some of the important things that we want to do. And do not use your computer. Do not use your email on another device. If you have your email on your phone or anything else, do nothing. That you are stopped. So that's just we wanted to be sure that you know these steps, that we can, safeguard stuff. We're backed up regularly, where a lot of places aren't. Some of them do a once a week backup, and I believe with what we have with the data backup, it's like every hour or something like that, or every couple of hours. So we make sure we have a good backup. That's one thing that we've worked at hard to get at. And be aware that a cyber incident, it's not gonna know if it happens, it is when. And NDIT stresses that you can have the best security ever and something can still get through. But we wanted you guys to have a checklist, and hopefully we can talk NDIT to come out and do that, what they did at that training. Because Tammy and I were both invited, because I do the IT and then she's the emergency manager, but we feel that this is something every employee should see, and even every constituent in our county if they want to. So we're gonna work on it and see if we can get it done. That's my 2 cents.
All right, very good. Yeah, we had one that actually was generated out of a group email today, through the auditors for sure, and maybe even the auditor and
There
treasurers.
was something for the treasurers,
Did you
and
see
I
it?
sent that as phishing, yeah.
Okay, so it comes across, and it comes from one of the auditors in North Dakota. And so at first sight, you look at it and you go, wow, it's at least from somebody I know, but I start looking at it and go, this doesn't affect me. That's my rule of thumb. So if it doesn't involve you personally or professionally with your job, what's the purpose of that email? Okay, you don't need to investigate and go down every single rabbit hole that presents itself. And I used to have teachers at the school who would, I've got this coupon from such and such restaurant. If it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true. Do not click on that kind of stuff. And if you don't know the sender and well, dentist doctor might be needing gift cards. Nobody knows.
Be discreet, and it's urgent, and misspellings.
Yeah, there's just so many things where this becomes so obvious, and more often than not, you don't have to get past the greeting part to know this is BS, because if it doesn't sound like that person, it's not that person. No matter what it says in the byline. So, anyway, in relation to that, with building security, evidently in 2019, Wells County did a buildings assessment. Department of Homeland Security was here and did that. I don't know if it's the same person. His name's Ryan Wentz. It might be the same person. I don't know if he's been there that long. But he will be out here on Thursday, the 26th of September. To do an assessment of both the courthouse and the KTL building. So you are going to see a stranger. You make sure you're here that day. That's very important.
Who?
You.
Oh.
Don't be vacationing in Tahiti or wherever it is.
Well, as
that
long
you-
as it's not in January, that'll be great.
Yeah, all right.
What day is he coming again?
Thursday, the 26th of September. And why do you need to be there? Obviously, the heating, cooling, ventilation, all the pieces,
Oh.
components to fresh air and things of that nature. It could be anything from a train derailment over here to an actual security threat. So, anyway, that'll be on Thursday the 26th. I have no idea what that report will look like. I looked at the last report from 2019 that was shared with me. If he gave 40 recommendations, it looks to me like we might have did 10 or 12 of them. So, we'll find out what he has to say, and then we'll see what the recommendations are and see what we can do to enhance security for the courthouse or whatever. I guess I'm not overly concerned about the citizens of Wells County, and, so we'll see. All right, next item there is department roundtable, and we'll need to be a little bit quick and keep this moving along here. In our office, obviously, the budget is a big part of that. We've got an upcoming general election, and obviously the post-election stuff related to that. There again, that's not a day or 2 or a 3-day process. That's a 6-month process, give or take. It really is. The stuff that we go through on a weekly basis is just, so we've got that going on, and just lots of things like that related to that. And then, of course, tax statements, we've generated those preliminary wise. We have our budget hearing in conjunction with our next commissioners meeting, so that's what's happening in the auditor's office. Janelle.
I'm good, got nothing to share today.
Did Madison send you anything, any updates for social services?
She did.
Okay.
She said you guys were doing your new heating stuff with your.
My heat
Yeah.
applications.
And said basically a lot of stuff going on now, obviously back in school.
Yeah.
And so lots of kiddos to work with and deal with. I guess, do you have anything to add?
No, but yeah, I'd say we've gotten pretty busy as far as child welfare goes, this, like when the school started up in August, so we've been busy with that, but that's all I know.
Public health, of course, school started, so we check their students' immunization records and send letters out to parents that they need to be updated and caught up, and then gearing up for flu and COVID. It's a 1-year thing now, COVID is also, so we're gearing up for that. And what else? Is that it?
Yeah, we'll just be doing a lot of flu clinics in October. October's our busy month.
You're gonna start by making some folks in this room cry
Yeah,
later,
today's our
right?
first
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
I guess we're just working on some continuing education courses. We have to have 20 hours every 2 years to keep our certification. And then for planning and zoning, we have a water pipeline application that we have to take care of on October 3rd. It's for 3 miles of the county, which I'm assuming there will be an additional application given sometime next year for the rest of the southern portion of the county.
That project is gonna take about 20 years.
Well, or it could just be like the canal and they never finish it.
Let's hope.
But yeah, that's something that we have to meet on, because I think they'd already started doing some dirt work there before I sent them a letter, because I didn't know about it
They've
until.
been working there for 6 months.
Yeah, well, none of the township boards told me anything about
That's
it.
just one township.
Or Billadu. So, but whatever the board decides for zoning on that particular application will not, the townships in which are not covered by the county zoning will not be covered by the conditional use permit requirements. And there's 2 townships in that don't have anything. So, good luck.
We tried to make them aware of that at the meetings in July.
Well, I sent them out another letter saying if you're not on the county zoning, then this does not apply to you. So.
Paving on County 5 should be done maybe today. If not today, tomorrow morning. So, if it's been an inconvenience for anyone, it was only about a week. They started last Thursday, and barring any problems, they'll probably be done by dark tonight. And if you get a chance to drive it, it's really nice. Too bad we couldn't do all 19 miles. Other than that, it's just business as usual at the road department, so nothing really new to report, but, County 5's turning out nice.
We are still in the thick of jury summons, questionnaires going out, jury trials. If you or your family member gets a jury questionnaire, please return it within the 5 days, or you're gonna get a special invite to visit with the judge. People don't feel they have to return those, and you do. It is the law. That's all I got to say.
Am I on the list yet?
Not yet,
Okay.
but I'm still sending out more.
We got through estimate tax, which was wonderful. And then we'll have October 1st coming up here to see if anybody pays their 3-year, or we go through redeeming or whatever. What else have we been doing? Oh, and we're looking into starting a different company for our payments, or credit card payments, because it'll give us a better rate. So that's an interesting little process, and we're having fun with that. What you doing, Tammy?
Nothing to say.
Nothing to
Okay.
say. Oh,
I know.
New plants
That's
growing.
the first.
4-H enrollment is underway. All the meetings have begun. I recently went to foreign animal disease emergency preparedness training in Carrington. So had a chat with Tammy about what that would look like. Hopefully I never have to use that training in Wells County or at all in the state. And more pesticides training coming as well.
Our office is busy just with documents, marriage licenses and passports. We've been very busy with that. The IT a little bit with cybersecurity, and we are working with Laura that we would use the same credit card company that they're working at with. So we'd be under one credit card company instead of 2. So, that's it.
Okay, all right, well, thank you very much for sharing. All right, next item in your packet is a handout. It's entitled Elections 101. I just want to go through a handful of things there. Again, this is an incredible source of disinformation and misinformation. The United States is unique. We have 51 different elections that'll be going on November 5th, the 50 states and the District of Columbia, just within the United States, not to mention we have citizens that live elsewhere, the Philippines, Guam, Puerto Rico, etc. You know, so elections taking place there as well. But there is just a mountain of bad information, and I've gotten to the point where I believe that people don't want to know the truth. It's more entertaining to run around with disinformation and misinformation. So this really does a nice job of getting down to the details of what an election is like in the state of North Dakota. And this is only about North Dakota. So if you want to vote on November 5th, you got to have your North Dakota driver's license, or you have to have a state-issued driver's license from the state of North Dakota, a tribal ID, which is about a 0.00001 chance in Wells County, virtually zero. Long-term care certificate, obviously we deal with some of those with the nursing home in Harvey and so on and so forth. So if you don't have one of those things and you walk in the door, you got 2 options. You can go and get it and come back and vote, or we'll let you vote, but you're gonna vote set aside and you have 13 days to clear that up. And the only thing that is challenging about that, your vote will still count if, of course, you can clear up your residence and requirements and so on. But the poll numbers that you see that night, whether it's running across your television screen or the next morning on the Secretary of State's website or whatever, it'll be 13 days until they ultimately get updated to include your vote. So our race is usually close enough that that's a big deal, probably not, but you never know. We had a race in one of our cities that was decided by, you guessed it, one vote, okay? So one vote does matter, obviously one vote matters. So, but you have to have one of those four things, otherwise, yes, you can vote, but it's not gonna be counted on that day. It'll get counted 13 days later when the canvassing board meets. Paper ballots, we only use paper ballots in North Dakota. There is no other thing, okay? All voting is done on paper. Even if you use the express vote machine, there is a paper trail. By sticking that into the machine, comes back out with your choices on it, and all of that stuff is saved. There will always be a paper trail in North Dakota elections. Only US citizens are allowed to vote. I can't tell you how disgusted I am to go home every day and hear the talk in the United States House or the United States Senate about passing a law that only US citizens can vote. That's always been the case. That hasn't changed. Okay, that is pandering to a certain crowd who obviously doesn't believe that's the case. That's always been the case. Okay? North Dakota does not mass mail ballots. We do not do that. The only way you can get a ballot in the state of North Dakota, even if your county is a vote by mail, which we're not, we have absentee voting, we're not a vote by mail, and yes, there's a difference between those two. And if you wanna know, I'll tell you, but not really that important because we're not a vote by mail county. You still have to request a ballot. Even in a vote by mail county, you have to request a ballot. The only difference is you'd mail out an application to every eligible voter, and if they turn it in, they can have a ballot, provided they meet the criteria, okay? Ballot handling equipment never connects to the internet. It has no capacity to connect to the internet. We had a fantastic presentation here last May. Secretary of State's office was out here. I invited multiple counties around us and all kinds of people. We had 30 people here, okay? Which is tragic, we only had 30 people here, but at least 30 people got the message, and it was exceptional how the equipment works, how we vote, what it takes to vote, etc. We have two different types of tabulation equipment, the kind that you see on election day, which is a DS200, and we have what's called a DS450 that we use for absentee and for counting stuff that is approved by the canvassing board 13 days after the election. It is impressive, to say the least, how that stuff works. That stuff is all tested before the election. You have the election, then it has to be tested again. This is my fourth election coming up here, second election cycle. And Renee, have we ever had one that was even off one vote in anything? Nope. Checks out every time exactly what it's supposed to be. All right, there is no private money in elections allowed. There was at a time, but it is not. Voting options, you have two choices in Wells County. There are other choices elsewhere in North Dakota, but we are election day in-person voting, and you can also vote absentee. But again, you have to initiate that process, and you have to request a absentee application from our office. We send that out, you send it back, you will get a ballot, okay? All right, again, down at the bottom, ballot, our voter ID laws have to have a North Dakota's driver's license or a non-driver ID given to you by the state of North Dakota, tribal ID, or a long-term care certificate. Part of voting, these questions, they're the basic questions of qualification to vote. Are you at least 18 years of age? Are you a US citizen? And are you a resident of North Dakota that's lived in a precinct for the last 30 days that's part of this election? If you can do those three things right there, you can vote. And if you have your ID in hand, it'll be counted that day, okay? And then there's the stuff I just talked about, the election equipment. We have the DS200, DS450, and then the express votes, which is an electronic means of voting, but it is nothing more than a large pencil that spits out a card of what your voting choices are. Nothing connected to the internet, no way to connect it to the internet, never will be able to connect it to the internet. So you can take this with you and use this to educate the people who obviously have less than a clue in living in your backyard. So Anyway, that's that. Thought that would be fun to share. And then the next item here is just a general information handout regarding measure number 4. Again, for educational purposes exclusively. I personally don't care one way or another how you think that vote should go. That's irrelevant to me. What I am concerned about is there's absolutely not 1 ounce of a plan for how in the world life is gonna work after this. Last time I had an opportunity, I had 2 of our local legislators, I had John Nelson and Jerry Klein in the same room with me. This was last week, Tuesday. And I asked a question that might have been on everybody else's mind, but I asked, okay, if this happens, that's entirely possible. You never know when you put something on the ballot. How can it be undone? And they looked at me with bewilderment on their face, and that's kind of the answer I expected. But the unintended consequences of things like this, where people get an idea, and it doesn't mean it's a bad idea, okay? What happens if, and what happens when? I'll ask you a simple question, and if you're a little bit hazy on this question, I think I've told you all you need to know. It's 2024. Now, I'm not going to be working in 2040, but some of you in this room might be. Do you want the same salary in 2040 that you're getting today? Simple question. Now, if your answer is no, you might want to rethink this, because you will put it in the Constitution to be funded at 2024 levels.
Going forward.
So
That's all you will get.
So be cautious, but and you need to be informed. I have questions on a routine basis how informed people are when they go inside a voting booth. Unfortunately, not sometimes educated enough. But nevertheless, there's information for you that you can share with others. It's not a political statement, not at all. So
The one thing we've had a lot of people that we have to tell them is that your property tax is one part of it, your specials is another. And so your property tax is only so much of that statement that goes out, you know, and then you turn around and we're gonna have people with homestead credit, with primary residence credit, and they're still gonna get a tax statement because their specials are gonna be on there. And they're not gonna understand that. And if your property tax goes away, your specials are not going to go away. You are still going to be paying that. So.
Absolutely.
It's just another part of
But
it.
are we gonna be doing them? Are those entities
Oh, I
gonna be
won't
doing
have
their
a
own?
job, I'm sure.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, is the city gonna be doing their own special assessments? We
I'm
probably
sure.
won't even have jobs.
Yeah, we probably won't have jobs. It's going to be a mess. It's going to be a mess.
But we do, and I'll just share this with you, Wells County, like every other county in the state of North Dakota, like every city in the state of North Dakota, gets what's called state aid. Okay, we get money from the state government every month, and it helps us to run our political subdivision. There are advantages that they have in Burleigh County and Cass County and Morton County and Ward County, Williams County, that we simply do not have, okay? And it's painfully obvious, but yes, we get state aid on a regular basis. Brent's department gets state aid on a regular basis, okay? If they have to fund all of these other things, part of what they will use as a revenue for that is what we formerly got in the form of state aid. Prairie dog monies, those things will be no more. So again, you need to have your eyes wide open. You gotta know what you're getting into. And I can have somebody come in here who can tell you, well, this'll work just fine. Well, no, okay? If this was a really, really, really good idea, why are we the first ones examining this? Okay, so we'll leave it at that, but you've got some non-political information to digest there. All right, next item there is employee assistance, 2 different handouts there, one for the regular, one for the month. Also included in that is the supervisor's one, that's always good to have. Accountability, and it just so happens to coincide with boy, is this a lucky day for me. If you go down to the very bottom of your agenda, I always put a thought down there. Accountability is first and foremost about being reliable. And that to me is what accountability is all about, but some good reading there for you in that. Flipping that over, substance abuse, obviously a real concern. And you can watch the news on any given day and they'll talk to you about fentanyl. That's only a small part of a big problem in our country, and unfortunately it is all around us in all kinds of different shapes and sizes. So good information. I really appreciate the village when they send this information out. I think it's really positive. I had a request from somebody to make sure that people know and understand that number that's at the bottom of the page, that is something that is at your disposal as an employee of the county, or anybody else that has an EAP that uses the village. They have services that are there for you. Whether this is what you're struggling with or you're struggling with something else in your life, don't hesitate to pick up your phone and make that particular call, okay? All right, some FYI stuff on there, fire extinguisher inspection, don't think it's, oh, did I forget something? Oh, employee contact, okay, somebody came to me not more than a week ago, maybe this was Carla, I don't know.
She says, yeah, it was.
Oh. Okay, all right. About giving out people's cell phone numbers. And as a result of this, I think it stems from calls that are being taken or being received after hours, okay? Whether it's good news, bad news, or whatever, or maybe it's somebody that wants to yell at you, or whatever the case may happen to be. I need some feedback from you. Obviously, Carla has given me hers, but I want to hear from the rest of you. And I'll start this by saying, even though my phone number is private, I'll put my phone number on a billboard. I don't care.
And I think it all depends on who you deal with. Unfortunately, what I deal with in my office isn't always the best people. And so, we don't want our cell phones given out without our knowledge, first of all. I mean, if you have my cell phone, I don't care if you wanna call me yourself and say, so-and-so contacted me about this, you know, and then we can call them back either if we feel
During
that they
working
need to
hours.
be called back right away, or we'll call them back during working hours. But I think it should be our choice, not you giving it out because you have my number.
What other input do you have? Do we need just a administrative regulation here? Do we need a policy? What's your?
I just thought it was would be kind of common sense, wouldn't it? I mean, it's like, come on, people.
Yeah,
Maybe just a policy that
Like I said, I don't
states.
have a
Doesn't
problem with
have to be a
anybody
policy.
in the county that has my number, as long as you respect my wishes that my number not be given out. You know, like I said, if you call me and say, hey, Joe Blow called me and said he needs to talk to you, then let me make that decision.
That's the policy we've always used, is if somebody calls looking for Carrie and she's out, I take their information and give it to Carrie. Obviously, I have her number, but I'm not gonna give her number to somebody that I don't know if she wants them to.
Right.
And that's how I've operated lots of times. It's not your number to give out to people.
Well, plus it's after hours too, it's like
Really?
most of the time.
Yeah,
it's after
tell 'em to
hours.
call
Was
back
it
the
an
next morning.
employee that gave her number out? Do you know? We may be having this conversation for nothing.
That's a hard question to answer. It was a
Yes
yes
and
and a
no.
no. I hate to say that because it confuses you guys, but.
And maybe I'll just put out a simpleton survey and just deal with it that way, I guess. It doesn't matter who calls me on, or reaches out to me in my office, I never give them 547-3521. Because the chances of me.
You never have from day one.
No, the chances of me being at or near that phone when somebody wants to reach out to me are not always the greatest, so I always give out my cell phone, you know? I never cared if a kid had it or whatever, was never a concern. In fact, if I had lots of kids who would call me on a Sunday and say, I need this, yeah, absolutely, I'll do that. And a patron that calls me, even if they're calling to yell at me, I'd rather know that they wanna yell at me, I guess, than them not tell me and
If they
they're
call you
downtown
after hours at
complaining.
home, you can yell back.
Right.
There you go.
You can.
Pipe down, Keller.
So, anyway, know that it's a concern. I suspect that everybody has their own idea about this. Again, somebody wants to get a hold of me, by all means, give them my number. I'd rather they have it and not need it than to need it and not have it, so.
Mine's on the county website.
But we'll look into this a little further. All right, there's gonna be a person here inspecting, recharging fire extinguishers on the 17th of October. They're
That
not
means
stealing them.
I pick them all up and I take them to the shop. They do all the work at the shop, and we bring them all back.
So Janelle's not
They'll be
stealing.
at the
It's always
office.
in October.
Okay.
All right, we got flu and COVID vaccine here, or, what are you guys gonna do after we're done with this meeting? Where are you setting up shop? How you wanna deal with it?
Right here. They brought their stuff.
That's okay with you guys. We can just set
We
it
could
right
do it
here.
from this distance?
Oh, good, I was the darts.
Good.
No, we don't have the right wheel for that.
All right. All right, ND Fit 2025. This is going to provide a little bit of consternation for some. I don't think it's gonna be overly difficult or anything like that, but if you get health insurance through the county, doesn't matter what plan you have, doesn't matter how long you've had it, whatever, they have what's called an active enrollment this year, which means you must go online. I cannot do this for you, okay? I could conceivably assist you with it, but I'm looking around the room and I know two people that do not have insurance through the county. We need not do anything, okay? But if you're getting your health insurance through the county, you have to go through what's called active enrollment, and they haven't even set the dates for this yet. Open enrollment is typically in the latter part of November, maybe the first week of December. They said they would expand it a little bit because they know it's going to involve a lot of people logging in and so on and so forth.
We've never had to do that before.
Well, you've only had ND Fit for 3 or 4 years,
Yeah.
something like
Is
that,
this
so.
something that's gonna have to be done every year then?
I don't think so. But they want to, my suspicion is they wanna know all the demographic information is correct and that you're intentional about what identifies you. Okay? In other words, maybe you got married and your name is different, or maybe you've just had a child, or, okay? Even though, if those things occurred, I would put it into our software called bSwift, and they would have that information, but I think they want to know from the consumer, not from the HR, from the consumer, that your information is correct.
The last time this happened, it was a nightmare because some couldn't get through no matter what they did with the calling, with the online. Cause I remember when we did that, was when Julie was.
Yeah.
And it was
Well, they were
a
did it
flippin'
before.
nightmare.
Mike, the road department guys aren't the brightest lights on the porch. With the exception of me, of course. So,
You are the exception that proves the rule.
I would like to say that, the road department guys I'll probably have them literally when open enroll starts, have them all come here because 7 of the 12 are gonna, and that includes me, will probably need help.
I was gonna say, you got a laptop, I thought.
Yeah, I know, but I'm not saying that I necessarily know how to use it properly.
Well, and then what they
Well,
did
you
is
know
they.
what?
I'll try. I'll try to do it, and if I do it, and I know that I did it right, then I can help the guys. But
Right.
I know I had talked to Dan about this too, and I mean, like, I got 1 or 2 guys that don't even have email. That a computer is nothing more than a paperweight.
Well, and that's what the problem was, and they ended up extending it a couple dates because people couldn't get in, they couldn't get through on the phone line. I believe it was Lexa couldn't get in, but I got in, and we worked and worked to get her in. And finally, we got her in, but I know they extended a couple days because ND Fit was having problems.
I mean, when it's time to enroll, I'll enroll, and if I know that I did it right, I can walk the guys through it too, cause yes, we do have a laptop and internet at the shop, but I'm not necessarily sure I'm gonna get it right the first time either, you know, I mean, just being honest.
But as I get information and details, I will absolutely share it, but do know that this is going to be a requirement. And my suspicion is if you let the open enrollment, in this case period, go by the wayside.
You don't have insurance.
Okay?
So-
Okay, there's repercussions for this. It's not the next morning, oh, can I still get in?
When we do this open enrollment then, will we, I mean, is it one of those situations where we'll pick our own password and we can go in anytime?
You already have.
Yeah,
a
see, that, I
username
don't
and
even know my password.
Everybody that has insurance has a username and password, and so, and I know what all of those things are. Obviously, when you go in there, then you can change it,
Yeah.
okay? But, I know what all those things are. All I'm doing is trying to prepare you for something that you're going to have to do and that I cannot do for you, okay? The other portion of that down below, and obviously this isn't 100% settled until that budget is approved, presumably on October 3rd, but there are the rates this year. I didn't put in there what the rates were last year, but they're up 2.97%, so that's exactly what they are. Single is still 100% provided by the county, SPD is still 100% provided by the county. The family changed slightly, it was 92.8 and now it is 90.10. So do know that the rates are there. October commission meeting coming up on the 3rd of October. You had mentioned to me you're coming back for
Yeah, Tammy
cybersecurity,
and I
right?
are, Yep.
Both engineering firms will be here, Dan, if they
Yep.
haven't already reached out to you.
They have.
Okay.
Anybody else that needs to see the commish? Okay. All right, and then P-card receipts are due to Renee's office by or before Monday, September 30th. Timesheets are due October 1st. Road crew, part-time deputies, etc. Or anybody that works on an hourly wage, 9/26/24, by or before 7:30 a.m. And I won't back the payroll train up and do it again, ever again. So, yeah, that is a hard deadline. All right, anything to add on LMS training? Everybody did it.
Everybody finally got it done, you're right.
Is there a prize for whoever did it last?
Perhaps.
Okay, well, great.
Perhaps.
Then I want another prize. Let's go back up to, tell me something good, now I can say I got a prize for it. I was well before the 9/20 deadline though, okay? So, next one's due on the 20th of December. So, anything else for the good of the order here today? If not, next time we will meet Thursday, the 17th of October, 2:30 p.m. right here. Now,
What
if
day
you
are they
would,
finalizing budgets?
what now?
What day are they finalizing budgets?
October 3rd. Unless they choose not to,
Doug.
they could say this, this does not reflect the commissioner's wishes, go back and start over. They could say that.
That's fine, you have time.
I didn't say that.
Drastic changes,
No.
we never got it back, so I'm assuming everything was.
Well, maybe, maybe not.
Okay, well, I meant mine, so,
Okay. All right, have a nice day.
Alright, we already are.
Oh, yeah. That goes without saying, have a nicer day.
Have the day you deserve.
Dave, get your shots, they're here.
So,
I'll get mine.
I'm gonna go
I,
play
told our guys to be at the shop at 1:30, and call them, I don't know who showed up, I know there's one or two, they'll be done.
Yes, my interest is.
I can't explain, I assume that it's
That would, yeah, I figured I'd just wait for.
Touches back.
Well,